Is it a matter of belief or just doing what the law prescribes, which is not investigations?
Okay.
Because the law is blind at the end of the day. That's what they say. So if the law is blind, they need to make these investigations regardless of how it will look like based on our emotions, or on how the community will react. If you have to dig up a grave to find the truth, don't you think they have to dig up the grave and find the truth?
The law is blind, but it is enforced by people who have eyes. I hope you understand. What I'm questioning and interrogating is that, are you telling me that the intelligence, the police, could not have verified that information before even going to take such an action? Were they not aware that somebody was dead? Because a process was undertaken by the police to actually have this person go to the hospital as a BID, and documents are there, and eventually they witness the burial of this person. Because when a human being dies, I mean, there are many implications around that particular death, especially if somebody has not died from a facility like a hospital. They die in a home. There are investigations that are undertaken. There are procedures that are undertaken to make sure that there was no foul play. So are you telling me that the police in this case, both the police and the law, are totally blind in this country? They have all of a sudden become blind under UPND? Is that what we're talking about? Why don't we interrogate these issues, not only from the theoretical, rhetoric that we seem to exchange, but was it really a necessary act to undertake?
Mr. Nakacinda, I think we also need to understand how sophisticated people that break the law are as well. Because if we decide to make it look like it's very easy to sort out a crime, and the allegations that were put before this particular case, we'll be lying to ourselves. Because it was complicated. And I think if people accuse you, Mr. Nakacinda, if you're gone, and people are saying, no, Mr. Raphael Nakacinda was not buried and there's money being buried there, obviously there are procedures. After, if they dig up and they find that you're not there, there are procedures that will follow regarding the money that they'll find there. Or if they find you, a DNA sample has to be taken, because obviously we will not find you as we are seeing you now.
Well, that reasoning is a little challenging for me, because you seem to actually be suggesting that we are so down that straightforward matters become complicated. A person is dead, is found in his house.
But we can't ignore the allegation, Mr. Nakacinda.
Why should you, if somebody, for example, I'm with you today, and somebody says that, oh, and Honorable Nakacinda is actually seated with Misaka in the Namwara, are you going to say, no, the law is blind, can we investigate? I mean,
well, there's video evidence here. Everybody's watching us live, so it's a different matter. It's a different matter. Can we go back to my question?
Yeah, I understand, but
I think you've put forward your point.
Yeah, the point I wanted to make is just before I can answer the question you asked, is that we are under a regime today that all of us needs to wake up and see what is going on, and let's not trivialize issues that are going on and think that these people are doing this just motivated by the so-called fight against corruption. I think there's more to that than the fight against corruption. You are talking about the
meeting,
the agreement.
You are the one that came to the public and told us that provisional liquidator Milingo had a meeting with State House over his cases, and now that Mr. Lungu has sued the state, do you feel vindicated now with the turn of events?
I don't think this is an issue of how I feel and so on. I think the role that we are to play as the opposition is to provide checks and balances. We have a duty on behalf of the Zambian people to speak out on issues that are going wrong, with the hope that those who are in government will be able to check themselves and correct themselves. And to that effect, the injustices that surround the Milingo saga that is resulting into an unjust harassment and attempt to intimidate, attempt to abuse the office of DPP and the person that occupy that particular office, having, of course, been zooming and knowing what was going on, we challenged colleagues that were part to these discussions to search their conscience and be able to furnish the Zambian people with the information that was reaching us in terms of some of the meetings that were taking place. And today, obviously, through some affidavits and documents that are filed in court, information has come out. And I think for me, the Zambian people are being called upon to judge whether or not we have colleagues in government that are honest, sincere in their dealings, not only in their dealings among themselves, but in their dealings with citizens. Before Mr. Milingo could be said to be a lawyer, could be said to be a liquidator, he is a citizen of the Republic of Zambia. And to that effect, he enjoys certain rights and freedoms that must be respected. Among them, there is this narrative of wanting to suggest, for example, that he is already guilty before he is even tried. And hence, he has been used, obviously, to whip some kind of narrative and so on and so forth, which has become the norm now under the new Dawn government. All of us associated with Patriotic Front, quote unquote, more or less been declared, like enemies of the state. The way we are being treated before the law and the propaganda that's being perpetuated by law enforcement agencies and so on, you can tell that there is, quote unquote, a perception being created as though they are second-class citizens for as long as they were associated with the, Patriotic Front. And when I say associated, I'm not talking about being members of Patriotic Front, because anybody, for example, that may have been given the privilege to play a role in government during the tenure of Patriotic Front, they are classified, PF classified a cadre, and to that effect, the only thing they deserve is to be verified, abused, and possibly hounded out of either office or indeed the role they may be playing. Now, when you look at the documents that are before court, clearly the binocracy and its lenses are becoming even stronger and stronger in terms of identifying some of these things that are going on. What is, first of all, disturbing is that after we raise those issues, we had State House respond through my young brother Anton Walia, saying that Mr. Nakacinda is lying and that President HH never met Mr. Milingo. And he says State House warns traitors around the presidency. Now, one of the issues I want to raise this morning, Mr. Peter, is that if Mr. Nakacinda was lying, just what he said is telling. He says President HH never met Mr. Milingo, but we are going to deal with traitors around the president. So those traitors around the president, who are they? How have they turned out to be traitors? Have they turned out to be traitors because the information that was supposed to be secret has become public? Or are they traitors in the sense that possibly they are undertaking assignments without the mandate of the president? Or what is Anton Waria talking about? Yesterday, he changes his statement when they had a sham of a press briefing, which unfortunately I can only describe as a congregation, like Kaunda used to say, of little scared young men who have no courage to confront the truth, using all manner of English words without saying anything. He says, no, President HH never met Milingo for anything to do with jeopardizing the judicial process for those who are alleged to have committed crime. What is he saying? Isn't he saying that there could have been a meeting, but possibly for a different purpose other than
that's exactly what that meant.
That's
exactly what meant.
So can we then begin to interrogate what is this boy talking about? First he says that there was never a meeting. Now he begins to tweak his English and say he has never met him for this purpose. So what purpose, for what purpose was the meeting that is reported in these court documents? To which it is on record that the president was part of the meeting, the vice president was part of the meeting, the honorable minister of finance was part of the meeting, my brother Bradford Machida was also part of that particular meeting, and subsequently there was further meetings that involve the Attorney General, meetings that involve the Solicitor General, meetings that involve...
You need to be very clear with the president's meeting. I think you have to be very clear.
I don't know if...
Based on those court documents, with the president's meeting, obviously...
If you read the affidavit...
The president said he would revert to him, according to the affidavit.
No. Listen, as far as we are concerned, these are sworn affidavits before court.
Yes.
This is not a press statement. And there are specific individuals that have been mentioned here.
And the specific individuals will get to those individuals that were mentioned.
You are the one who's assuming that they'll get to that. But as far as I'm concerned myself, we zoomed the information we got. Eventually, it looks like, as it were, it is confirmed by these documents that are before court. The people that are commenting over this matter, whether it is Aimbe himself, whether it is Anton Wada, they are alien to what they are talking about. Can Aimbe competently go and swear an affidavit to authenticate what he was talking about yesterday? He can't. Can Anton Wada go and swear an affidavit before court and try and speak on behalf of the people that have been mentioned here? He can't. And zooming further, I can tell you that I am aware of some of the places and people that Anton Wada was complaining to just a few days ago, where he was actually complaining about this statement that he made himself. He said, I'm being made to issue these statements when in fact people are cutting deals behind the scenes. Meaning that possibly even in State House, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. And that is what we are challenging to say. I think there is a problem, which if we don't resolve and challenge to have it resolved, we may end up plunging this nation into chaos unnecessarily.
I've read the affidavit and I've understood meeting point by point and who met Mr. Milingo at what point. And it's all there, and the evidence is there based on what Mr. Milingo submitted to the court.
Yes.
But based on what the minister said yesterday at the press briefing, where he denied that President Hakainde Hichilema did not have any hand in Milingo's issue, I'd like to get your comment on that, because he solely put the blame on the DPP and said she was acting on her court. And if you look at the Constitution, the DPP cannot be questioned. She can act on her own accord. Okay. And no one will question her action.
I am here, to speak honestly, truthfully, without any malice. And without any malice, I can tell you that my level of trust and respect for Honorable Aimbe has gone down. Just a few days ago, our council chairperson for Lusangazi, just as an example, was brought into Lusaka. And ceremoniously, we could actually say abducted into Lusaka. But as it were, the binoculars was zooming all those activities. And within somewhere near State House in Long Acres here, they bundle the guy and bring him by mid-morning, and they get there, and the people who were present in that particular meeting was Levin Goma, the one who was involved in the DP, political party scandal. I'm sure you remember that audio, which at the time the audio came out, the question there was who leaked this information. They were now investigating radio, television stations, journalists on how they accessed that particular audio. You understand what I'm saying? But this time around is in this particular meeting, wanting to, offer money, persuade this fellow to withdraw a petition in the Constitutional Court. And in that meeting, the Minister of Justice, this same one at the press briefing, is also part of that meeting. And then you expect me to come and sit here and believe that Honorable Aimbe, for example, in addressing us yesterday, he was speaking from the sincerity of her heart. He was basically trying to do some PR, suggesting that by being a smooth talker, you can bury such hard facts under the table. I mean, statecraft and governance of a nation is a serious business. You can't reduce it to rhetoric. You can't reduce it to feeding people with PR. You can do that when you're in opposition. You have the luxury of excusing yourself that you're not in charge of, government. But the moment you are given the privilege to to govern, take away the mentality of propaganda and the mentality of wanting to present yourself in a particular way. Now you have to deal with reality. In this situation, I think the Minister of Justice yesterday was reckless. I think he attempted to take the Zambian people for granted, which I think this government takes the Zambian people for granted. They feel that the same propaganda, the same lies they were telling them when they were in opposition, they can continue to tell those same lies and the Zambian people will buy into them. What did he say yesterday? Apart from just saying the DPP did this thing on their own. But the evidence before court shows that this matter was compromised by the executive because of the meetings that are reported to have been held. Okay, even if she made the decision on her own, let's go by his own reasoning. They're saying there was nobody who directed. She doesn't have to be directed. She's mandated to look at public interests. She's mandated to protect the judicial system. She's mandated to make sure there is this administration of justice. She's mandated to make sure that there is no abuse of the judicial process. That's what the law says. So to that effect, if there is a pronouncement or an indication that the executive within the government setup has identified that this matter of KCM, to resolve it in national interest or state interest, requires that they engage Mr. Milingo and discuss for some kind of a settlement. And to that effect, it compromises the case. What choice does she have? Save to discontinue this matter, because continuing with the matter in court is an abuse of the judicial system. Because the executive has already negotiated with this fellow, come to some agreement of what they consider public interest or indeed interest of the state. Proceeding to prosecute is an abuse of the process. If, for example, there is an agreement and people have negotiated, some of them are supposed possibly to be witnesses to this matter, they come to some settlement. If she proceeds to prosecute this matter, just as a layperson, isn't that not compromising the integrity of the judicial system? So to that effect, then she was on terra firma to discontinue this matter. But because people can't face their own truth, a straightforward matter they want to complicate, let me tell you, I'm actually laughing at these colleagues in the sense that they are not willing to man up. When you are elected as president, you are entrusted to protect the interest of the people that you are called upon to govern. And in protecting their interests, sometimes you may do things that may look unconventional because of lack of information on the part of the citizenry. But if you believe it's the right thing to be done, you do it. You don't play to the gallery and begin to, size up what the opinions of the masses may be because you fail to govern. What is at play now is that I want to believe that they realize that these matters possibly will take long, may not even achieve the desired results, maybe looking at even having studied the documents that are before court. When you look at the court order that appointed Mr. Milingo as liquidator, the conditions that came with it, and what he was entitled to. When you look at the money, for example, that he generated during the time that he was in office, close to $1.2 billion. You understand? And the document suggests that he was entitled to 10%. And today he's being persuaded or pursued for 4.4 million kwacha, 17 point something million kwacha. if you look at the figures that he generated at the time that he was in office, it doesn't even make sense for somebody to comprehend that this person can be said to have stolen 4.4 million kwacha when he was entitled to 10% of any money that he would have generated either by disposing any asset or indeed anything that belongs to KCM. That's what the order says. Actually, it is very clear from what is before court that Mr. Milingo is actually owed money. You understand what I'm saying? So, just as a layperson watching this whole thing, why is UPND government trying to complicate their lives? Entering a knowledge is not, is not abrogating the law. It's part of the tools that have been conferred in the office of the DPP to be able to undertake the mandates as stipulated to make sure that public interest is always protected, to make sure that the integrity of the judicial system is guaranteed, to make sure that the administration of justice is guaranteed, to make sure that the judicial process is not, abused. So why are these people failing just to own up that we considered this matter? And to that effect, we felt that the route to take is basically a negotiated settlement. Right. It has been done before, and so on. So all I can say is that here, what is working against the UPND is a tendency of dishonesty, a tendency of deceit, and in the end, they are embarrassed. But instead of just owning up, so that this thing can, sometimes to own up is the greatest cure in any situation. It's the greatest cure. Kusumina fe kutirawe vane ichichintu twarefo kwa tuchichirefu for your benefit. There will not be any drama today. But people, I was even shocked to find that Mr. Kabesha would be seated in that press briefing. I want to challenge Honorable Aimbe. Maybe I can spare Aimbe and Antonio Warrior. Maybe Antonio Warrior, they don't even know what's going on. But, Mr. Kabesha, Muchende, and the colleagues at State House, Bradford Machira, Christopher Mundia, when they wake up, like they woke up this morning, and they go and look themselves in the mirror, what do they see before them? How do they live with themselves?
Based on that, I want to find out from you. Based on the names that you've mentioned, and those names appear in the affidavit that's before the court, what do you think is State House interest in this matter to do with Mr. Lungu?
Maybe the answer would be that they are denying. And yesterday, even the young man Christopher Mundia was part of the press briefing. He should have actually not even be part of that press briefing, because it's in public domain, Mr. Zulu, that it was Christopher Mundia and Mr. Siandenge that went to close the offices of the liquidator, isn't it? It's in public domain. Where does Mundia, what mandate has Mundia got to go and close the office of a liquidator? He's just a political advisor to the president. Whose mandate was he undertaking? Mr. Siandenge is deputy IG, yes, but a commissioner at the State House. Whose mandate was he carrying out to go and close those offices? Those are the questions that beg an answer. But we also have learned through our binoculars that every document, even those that they are disowning, whether it is a consent judgment, it was drafted from State House, delivered by this Mr. Christopher Mundia. This letter of suspension signed by the Administrator General for Mr. Milingo was drafted and signed, delivered by this Mr. Christopher Mundia. All the agreements. Today, people can have the courage and face the cameras and say, we don't know. And of course, because the matter is before court, we can't discuss, certain details in this, but we can only confirm as it were what is on record, because obviously the court record is of public, is a public record, isn't it? We can only confirm this. But from what we also know is that if you are even the ones who are drafting these letters, surely, where are the men and women of character, of integrity, if you like, who, if you are implicated in a matter like this, would be honorable enough and say, okay, if there is a change of course and I was involved in this process this far, I can't continue to hold the office, I'm resigning. Today they are saying, no, there's one of the funny things about that press briefing Mr. Imbe is to say, you know, the mandate of the DPP cannot be questioned by anybody. But we have seen some lapses from where, if she can't be questioned. And therefore we are calling upon the JCC to expedite. There's a problem there. One,
well, the JCC comes into play because obviously an activist, Chama Fumba, popularly known as Pilato, he went and filed in a complaint to the JCC based on that to open up investigations into the DPP. So don't you think he was right by asking them to expedite that so that if there's investigations to be, to be had here or clear her name, the JCC should start working on it?
Listen. This is what the paradox is. You have UPND cadres and sympathizers reporting the DPP here and protesting and so on, willy-nilly. And some of them have written to the JCC on this particular matter, right? We have the Minister of Justice, who's also a member of UPND, having a press briefing, going beyond his mandate, directing the JCC to expedite hearing this particular matter. We had recently a member of UPND, in my uncle Vincent Malambo, appointed as chairman of the JCC. So when you look at this circle itself, it is telling that the reason even Mr. Imbe was confident to say, can you hear these matters quickly, expedite, is because possibly there is already a predetermined outcome. It can't be said, you can't even guarantee fairness, you can't even guarantee that the objectivity will be attained. Beyond that, he is a lawyer. And I can tell you that I even said that Parliament that the Minister of Justice, though being a lawyer, is a letdown. Even Parliament, which is mandated to enact laws, do you know that the whole legislative sitting of Parliament in the last session, there were no proper bills that went there. 4 of them, 3 they were to do with associations and so on, generated by associations. So I want to believe that, I want to say that even the session that Parliament had last time was actually a waste. But beyond that, you have a Minister of Justice who has a press briefing, and he's talking and directing the JCC to hear this matter expeditiously, having just said earlier that this matter is now before court, therefore I can't even answer your questions. So is it not prejudicial or actually undermine the judicial process if the JCC were to hear this matter that is a complaint to do with a matter that is before court? You understand? But because it was a desperate PR press briefing, they didn't even think through these matters. And the advice I want to give to President HH this morning, these young people that you have surrounded yourself with are leading you in a ditch. They are, because the buck stops at you at the end of the day. These Christopher Mundias, all these fellows that are advancing these shenanigans around, and we don't even know what personal interest they may have in this whole process, and what they could have possibly been advancing for personal benefit. We don't know. We can only speculate. But they have mishandled the president. They have mishandled the matter that is emanating from the office of president, and they have brought an embarrassment to that office. The president needs to rise above petty public issues, social media, and so on. Rise above all that and be able to do the right thing in the interest of the nation, and bring back to the correct rail the judicial processes, the justice system in this country. How can you, Mr. PD, really, as head of state, go to sleep, having have a law enforcement agency under your office, go to not only seize, but confiscate properties, including one where a person is living with his family. This is Bowman Lusambo. And his family is on the street. And you go to sleep comfortably.
Mr. Nakacinda,
having your citizens abused in that manner.
Again, I'll ask you this: how do you expect law enforcement agencies to do these investigations? Because there's a way that they are done, and it entails all that. When the property is seized, when the property is forfeited, there are processes that are followed.
You are justifying an abuse of the law.
How has the law been abused? How has the law been abused in that case?
This law that speaks to properties suspected to process of crime, you are supposed to investigate and establish that this is where possibly the money was stolen and therefore this property was bought. You can't just come and say, because you are wearing a nice jacket and you are working for Hot FM and not working for World Bank, therefore where did you get this jacket? It's a suspected process of crime. Come and tell us. You even shift the burden of proof to the accused. That's what is happening today. People are being abused using these laws.
Don't you think you should be able to explain your wealth? Okay. Don't you think I should ask you how you managed to buy yourself the shirt that you're wearing and you explain it?
That is not a question anybody would deny. All of us as citizens across the board, if we are to acquire anything, wealth, property, it has to be through hard work and legitimate sources of income.
Which is true. Which is true. But Mr. Nakacinda, you're a politician.
Yes.
You are a minister.
Yes.
You are a public officer. So it's different for you. It's because you worked and served the people of Zambia. And if the people of Zambia have noticed that, Mr. Nakacinda, just last year when you were not a minister, and the following year you've amassed so much wealth, don't you think the people have the right to ask you, Mr. Nakacinda, to say, please, we understand that you served in this prestigious, the position as minister.
Okay,
Can you please just break down how you've amassed this wealth in this period of time? Don't you think you owe the Zambian people that explanation?
Okay. I understand what you're talking about, but this one-time approach of just seizing properties and so on without investigation, I don't want you to jump that aspect. It's very important. Bowman Lusambo, we were together in MMD, die hard for Arabi, die hard, and we supported Dr. Nevasumba together. You understand what I'm saying? And some of the things that is being harassed for example, there's one property, at least that I personally know, that by the time it was 2013, 2012, 2013, it was under construction. I think that's a very house that he was living in. So at this particular point, he became MP and minister in 2016, isn't it? So that property he stole well in advance before he became minister. Is that what you are saying? And if that is the position, was there a thorough investigation to establish that? Or it was just a decision, go and seize, let him evict them, they will come and explain to court. The whole essence is basically to punish that person. By the time they are justified, their children are tormented, their families are tormented, and in certain instances, and this we have walked on this path before, there are people during the so-called fight against corruption in the Mwanawasa regime who died vilified and in the court of public opinion judged as guilty. By the time they were being vindicated in court, they had died of depression, their families have been destabilized. Today, their children, grandchildren, and possibly the generations to come, their lives have been warped to repair the damage. That's why when it comes to issues of justice, there must always be a protection of people's rights. There must be fair play. There must, as we operate in Zambia, people are innocent until proven guilty. So in this case, some of the actions that have been taken are arbitrary, and I think it is not helpful for the country. We are not saying don't investigate. We are saying the actions that are being taken are purely to dismantle political opponents and the political organization. Today, there is reports of PF vehicles that have been impounded, 71 vehicles, and possibly there could be more. Are you telling me, Mr. Peter, that you don't know that there is no law that stops any political party from fundraising anyhow they want and investing their money or buying properties or indeed resources required for campaigns in whatever way they want?
That's very clear, Mr. Nakacinda.
Yeah.
Based on political party financing, that's very, very clear.
Yeah. So
I think we're
the
all...
impounding of those vehicles is on what basis?
Well, that the SEC have to tell us, or whichever department has
That's what
done
I'm
that.
saying. I'm just speaking
has
to the
tell
same
us.
principle.
But I'm trying to, so that we don't lose track of our conversation.
Yeah.
We're talking about the issues to do with the fight against corruption here. And you've brought about the example of Honorable Bowman Lusam. And I'll give you an example of Austin Liato. He went to court. The burden of proof was on him. And that court case set a precedence for each and every case that we're going to have. The burden of proof will be on the accused. So it's up to the former Lusaka province minister, who is the Kabushi member of parliament, to bring forth evidence and prove that what he has is legally acquired.
I agree with you. If that is how you are, let me agree with you. If that's how you're reasoning around this issue. But did you have to get him out of the house? You can put restrictions on the house that he doesn't dispose it of. You can put restrictions on the house. That
I think that's what the law entails when it says seizure.
Yeah, but this time around, it's not only seizure. Yesterday, the SEC PR person was saying, if Bowman Lusamba accesses that property in whatever manner, he will have committed a crime. So why are you punishing the guy before you find him guilty? That's a question. Why is his family being deprived of that facility before you find it guilty? Because the due process has to conclude in court for you to say this property is indeed a proceed of crime. You understand what I'm saying? So, I mean, these arbitrary decisions that are being made must be interrogated. What they're motivated with what? And I can tell you, some of it are motivated by the fact that Bowman is outspoken. He was here protesting and trying to inform the Minister of International Affairs in charge of Africa, the lady that came to speak on this radio from the UK. When he came and he had a placard, one-man protest, instructions were given. You must find something. You must arrest this gentleman. And unfortunately, the end result is even a victim from the house. It is all meant to get at somebody because of their political commentary.
I want to go to our social media platforms because we have so many people watching us now. In case you're just joining us, we have Mr. Raphael Nakacinda on the Hot Seat Radio program this morning. And we are live on all these particular stations, on Hot FM, on Kwitu FM, on Power FM in Lusaka, on KNC Radio in Central Province, Breeze FM in Eastern Province, Radio Liseli in Western Province, Radio Yangeni in Luapula Province, Radio Mano in Northern Province, Beats FM in Northwestern Province. We're live on Diamond TV Zambia as well. Also live on other social media platforms, which include the Hot FM Facebook page, the Kwitu FM Facebook page, Mweban2. We are live on Kalemba. We're also live on Smart Eagles. You can follow this program and ask your advanced questions to Mr. Nakacinda, which we put forward. I'm going to pick a few questions for you based on the people that are following this conversation and what they have sent through and that they want you to actually touch on. We're going to just pick out like 3 questions, then I'll allow you to just, respond to those questions. Question number 1 is coming from Theodas Blessing. He says, Reverend Nakacinda, why did your government increase the liquidators' earnings from 5% to 10% once KCM sale is complete? That's question number 1. I think that's in the affidavit as well. Bristol Bota says, hello, Peter Zulu. Kindly ask Nakacinda who gave him the information on Milingo deal before it came to the public's attention. That's question number 2. Mwashi Caps Mambwe asks, Mr. Nakacinda, what are you doing as a party to sure that people in that What do you think has gone wrong with UPND government with what is pertaining over misinformation over Milingo's case? Who should we listen to? And another question says, do you think PF will bounce back in power in the near future? So we'd like to encourage everybody else watching us live on these particular social media platforms to continue sending in your questions and sending in, your contribution. We'll be able to read them live on air and put them forward to Mr. Raphael Nakacinda here, who joins us on the Hot Seat Radio program, so that you get to respond. I'll give him a chance to respond, then we'll pick up some phone calls as well and continue with our conversation. What's your response to some of those questions?
Well, I think the issue of increase from 5% to 10%, I can't competently speak to that, because I think those were processes before court at that time, and this gentleman was appointed by a court order. So the parameters around that, I think I will not be able to comment. But for me, I'm picking it up from the tail end of this whole process, in the sense that he was appointed liquidator, and there's an agreement. There are entitlements that were due to him, and to that effect, I think, contrary to the fears that colleagues in UPND seem to be having, because they are afraid to go against public opinion even when they could have been right, is that they decided to engage into some kind of a settlement that would first of all preserve the asset, settlement that will be able to protect the interests of the nation, or the state in this case, and so on and so forth. But as it were, when you are used to lying, every opportunity when you are challenged to come out clean, you end up lying. And the moment you tell a lie, you have to tell a bigger lie to cover the other lie, and bigger lies and more lies for you to cover other lies. And I think that's a web they have been caught into. And I hope one of them will be courageous enough to just be truthful about this whole issue and move, so that the country can move forward. Who gave you information? That's why we are here. We are here to provide checks and balances. And one of the reasons for which we are carrying around this binocracy is to be able to zoom. We promised the Zambian people that we are going to watch every step, every action, every decision and process that this government undertakes to make sure that it is in the interest of the public. So the binocracy helps you, helps me to see that what our colleagues are doing in government serves your interests. Rebranding. Do you think that PF will bounce back? And what do you think has gone wrong in UPND government? What has gone wrong in UPND government is lack of truthfulness. Deceit, dishonesty has short legs. Lies have short legs. I want just to encourage our colleagues in government. I mean, you govern a country from the integrity of your heart and the skillfulness of your hands. Be honest with yourselves. Be honest to the Zambian people. And I can tell you, even a hard decision that you take, if you explain to the Zambian people, they will always, cooperate with you. Chiluba came and faced the Zambian people and said, are you ready to sacrifice? Because we're going to undertake a process that will cause you to lose jobs. Eva umebalia. Are you ready to sacrifice pantu tuaracha privatize me ima industry na fiance? He came out clean. When those processes were being undertaken, yes, people were complaining, but they were told beforehand, they were never deceived. So I can only encourage the UPND, for once, come out of the opposition deceit and propaganda that eventually became like the ethos of the party. Because the UPND kwena vale pupo bufi. They were lying and changing goalposts on anything. I can give you example after example. We always laugh one time when we were dealing with the constitution amendment process. We had a meeting at Lazi where even Sean Tembo, President Sean Tembo, if you ask him, he was one of the people in that particular meeting, agreed and teased out some of the challenges that seem to have been bottlenecks for us to make progress in the constitutional amendment process. President Akainde, as main opposition leader at that time, who had the majority members of parliament in opposition in parliament, we gave him an opportunity, sir, with your alliance partners, what are the issues? he spelled them out. And we had agreed beforehand, Mr. Peter, to even record those discussions so that nobody can depart away from what was going to be agreed. They raised the issue. We agreed. We even, Mr. Peter, reached a point where we gave him an opportunity. Is there any issue? Please close the meeting for us. He even gave the closing remarks. 2 days later, we came and met again. The gentleman was looking at us as if there was no meeting whatsoever before where we agreed and documents were to be signed. And he was denying and said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. But we said, sir, Mr. President, we even recorded. Can we play the recording of what we said and what we agreed? Because all the process was recorded. He said, if you play that recording, me, I'm leaving this place. A person who doesn't want to be accountable for what he has committed is a dangerous person. Worse still, if it comes from the highest office of the land. For me, I'm challenging my elder brother. This is the time to set your conscience and rise above these petty arrangements. And one of the things I've seen that is clearly at work, there are individuals that go to the president, President Aka in the HNM, to go and incense him, to go and spin him. They go and tell him, that the PF have a lot of money stuck around across the country. They are now remobilizing. They are coming. So when they get him agitated like that, they say, but
that's hearsay, Mr. Nakacinda.
I'm telling you.
That's hearsay.
Okay.
Because you've made two different allegations on this particular. That
I'm
allegation. You also made an allegation that there was instructions to go and arrest Boma Lusambo. From who? Who made this allegation?
Well, the ones who...
You need to give us names.
No, the one that is responsible for that particular instruction. I just told you that Gazette Notice 1123 of 2021 took all law enforcement agencies, the SEC, the police, the DEC, to State House. Whether it is the president himself or his agents, that we are yet to establish. But when you look at the behavior of the police, it's not normal. When you look at the behavior of DEC, it's not normal.
So those allegations are just based on your own assumptions, Mr. Nakacinda.
No, Mr. Peter, listen to me. Today, for the first time in the history of this country, there is an attempt to justify and confer on DEC, Director General, that she has powers to usurp the powers of the DPP. And the disappointing thing is that some of the organizations that are supposed to speak to guide the nation like LAS, they have decided to be tongue-twisted. And instead of speaking on behalf of the Zambian people, they are speaking to skew the opinion of the public against, for those who are in government. That's why we miss people like, Honorable George Kunda, his honor, the former vice president, the late former vice president George Kunda. When he was last president, he stood his ground and spoke for the people. Do you know that during the persecution and the harassment of Mkerevai, he was Minister of Justice. Honorable George Kunda earned himself a name called Mr. Integrity, because even against his friend who was President and Levi Mwanawasa, George Kunda stood and said, I don't agree with you, Mr. President, on this matter. And he recused himself publicly and said, I don't agree with the decisions that are being made by the Executive and Minister of Justice. Mwanawasa, because of knowing the level of integrity that George Kunda, and on this matter, he stood on firm ground. Swear affidavits to lie.
I think we'll have to wait and see what they present. Don't
see.
You think you should give him a chance to wait and rebuttal what has been,
that's why
produced by the court by the other team?
That's why we are seated on our tentacles, itching for the day to see the affidavits to fly in there. We want to see to what extent people can go. Turefo kumona, abantu tukwete mu buteko.
Let's pick up a few calls. I'm looking at my time, and I know that people that are itching to throw in their contributions or their questions. Give us a call, 0974-870-877. I'll allow you to wear your headphones, Mr. Nakacinda, so that you get to hear the people that are calling in. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Restrict yourself to asking one question. Introduce yourself, and please be very brief so that we pick as many calls as we can, and Mr. Nakacinda can react to your calls. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning to you. What's your name?
This is Chanda calling from within Lusaka.
Chanda, please go ahead with your question.
Yes. I would like to say something to Mr. Nakachinda. These is very good remarks that he's uttering right now. But I'm wondering why these remarks were not being uttered when they were in government. When there were all those confusions that were going on, he's talking about the police. He's talking about law enforcement agencies. What is happening now at least has got direction, and what was happening then didn't have any direction. So why should they start talking about the thorn in the eyes of UPND today when they had a log in their eye during their tenure of governance? Can they be clear and say things before they are chucked out of office? Now that's when they want to start seeing the problems. And when they were in office, they never saw any problem.
Okay. All right, Chanda. Thank you very much for your contribution. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. We'd like to hear from you. Give us a call. You are listening to the Hot Seat Radio program. Good morning.
Good morning, Peter.
Good morning to you.
You are talking to Dr. Proud. Nakacinda shuwa iwe. Mutonga wa.
Hello, Dr. Proud.
Bintu yama yusi amene baputika. Kama binangu. Pia prep majanki. Bamene bakupanda muyama zesiko. Munali babantu bangati. Munali magases. Why si ukambako ukuthi who was bringing magases? Now vaichechi waleta vuto bwanja patiko na mumanyumba. Bukaenda kunchito usebeza na kubwera kuno kadalism. Iwe sindi wanavota PF wa UPND wendi wa PF Nakacinda. Iwe wanajera kufola jabe na nominated member of parliament. Iku tunapaka poho iwe. So don't tarnish the name ya abantu banamu. Inendile na vota wa HH. So wala bana manga bamba kungena kunchito. Imo mu PF munai kulemba na je security muntu nikapokola. Security muntu ni nani? Did you bring advert? Right now Lusaka it is more debt. Munakangwa kukula mamoto kakukanza. Mulokumanda siwa kwapa. So ba UPND was they are trying kuyamba kumenda kumanda kuzikwapiwa. Kuyamba kulemba nchito mafana.
Dr. Proud, we'd like to thank you very much for your contribution. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. We'd like to hear from you. Give us a call this morning. What questions do you have for Mr. Raphael Nakacinda? Good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. All right, thank you for letting us know that you are tuned in. We'll pick up one more call, then I'll allow Mr. Nakacinda to react to the calls that have just come in. It's 0974-870-877. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good, how are you doing? What's your name?
You are talking to Mr. Chinda, Southern Province. Vagachinda, Mabuga.
Kabatu mudala mabuga bajinda.
Mwatutio mpya Vagachinda, kuganana kwenu ngomuganana. Ndendi nywe mwagaluo mapawa, imiaga mingi yonse. Ijisi mwagajijaya, umana kujijaya, mwapopota mwadya, mwasiachabe mabonzo. Right now, imwe bakadjaka ntambo. Echi adjonsa, imwe mayamba kudjaka ntambo. Manje mungatuzo vitani. Echi aretako development through education, tunaiona, iliko. So, not kutenga abantu mukaziba uza vintu vaboza iyai. Why you can't you come and working together and HH? This is a good idea. Don't come to and teach the people akuli bantu balitiani balipengere mujisi yesia hii bija Zambia. Twagadi muni dictatorship. So ngati imwe muri ngaswa imuona muri bakaunda beze kuleta ko development because beze kusebenzera pamozi na bene Natala ne niso mungoni bene kumbula manje imwe ni kuyamba na chabe ni kudiaka chabe ntambo muzano adonsa yecheti imwe ni kudiaka ntambo ngaione development kenze kumenywa muri ba PF apa manje ngati mwaenda muri matawa mwaenda ku city market mwapwena kuno kumonze muzapeza muntu ali wonse avala ligari ya kuli bamena nga mumenye manje aba PF wenze kutumenya Don't come to teach the people who want to probably vote. Eh?
Okay, I think I've given you enough time. Twarumba. Mr. Nakacinda, please respond to those three.
Yeah, Mr. Chanda was actually challenging me. Why didn't you speak out when you're in government? First of all, I want to say that the atrocities of Patriotic Front, are the ones that led to the people of Zambia to vote us out. The responsibility we have is what we have undertaken to do, and that is to apologize to the Zambian people for all those things that we may not have done and omitted to do, or some of the things that we did, but maybe they did not see themselves implemented to be able to answer to the concerns of the Zambian people. But the good thing is that Judgment Day came in 2021, and the Zambian people have the final say, said PF, step aside. So we have a duty, which also answers to the other questions that were asked before, that Patriotic Front is the responsibility. Now, of course, is to provide checks and balances, but while it's also working on ourselves through the process that everybody is referring to of rebranding. Rebranding to get rid of some of the things that people are referring to. And I think the first step that we took was to take a moment of of introspection through the process of postmortem, and actively so those issues are being addressed. Personally, I can tell you that I've never changed my stance on these matters, whether it was in the time that I was privileged to be in MMD and now in Patriotic Front. The position has been consistent. If you Google, you find that there are statements that were attributed to me, to which I was cautioning our colleagues in Patriotic Front that, for example, when it comes to traits of arrogance, would say that the MMD became arrogant after, being in power for close to 20 years. But we were advising that you, PF, will become arrogant when we're only 10 years in office. But what is amazing is that our friends who are in government are arrogant just 8 months into office. We are having little boys that were struggling on the street, even where to live, 8 months into office, coming to tell the Zambian people that I can't even live in that Nkwazi if you ask me to shift there. That level of arrogance was seen 20 years after PF got into government, 10 years after PF was in government. MMD was in government for 20 years. That's when we saw that level of arrogance. Our Korewa Msanga, na power. Just months. They are arrogant. And we are saying to them, please retreat from that trajectory. It will only harm the interests of the Zambian people. Proud was talked many things as usual. That's why maybe it's called Dr. Proud and Professor Proud. But I think what you can pick out is his complaint around how dirty the city is. I can only remind Proud that now UPND, the one he voted into office and in charge, we attempted as Patriotic Front to get rid of debt and undertook projects that eradicated cholera in Lusaka and across the country. But within 8 months of UPND getting into government and speaking to the issue of having dirty, communities, the dirty town, now we have reports of cholera and so on. And I think he must, echo those sentiments, not to me, but to the Minister of Local Government, to the Minister of Health, and the Minister of Water Development and Sanitation. These are the people that he should be able to advise that we're in trouble because cholera has started knocking on our doors. And I can only but join him to say that here on set, that just like Dr. Proud, I also noticed that there is too much debt in town, too much debt in our communities, and now cholera is knocking on people's doors. Mr. Chinda, he is saying, why are you muponda ntambo? Stiponda ntambo iyai. Vajinda, mbojibede muhunumende. Isoboni tuwali muhunumende, twagari kujogo. Niswe twagari kujoga ba Edgar Lungu. Ba HH aba UPND bari kutujayira basa utigatu ya lima kaboto akutobera muholo. So mbiba jisiji sago oja kwamba to follow, lungu to follow, so that tutatiani tutanyongani buli mipe tutanyongani intu yede kuti igwa ihebe na Zambia mu August 2021 mwagatu guhya mwatu guhya kuni kujogo mwagabika hagainde mwabika bene jaku mwimbu abana rumango amano mwapaka sago kuli Nakacinda aba PF. So toti jitawa tujairabia ejo chomwanda kuchita kuli DPP out kamuswena ogo murajirubia ogo chomwanda kuchita kuti muja out amujita bombo njenchito njito kanjira ino kujairabe na againde tatudiati kantambo pe twanda kuti kaba tobera muholo, so that yonse kahenda kaboto yonse ka yani ichite benefit Mazambians. So don't condemn us for doing the job we are supposed to do. Namuna bayanda baka inde ichire mabajinda tamugo balumba boguti kuyabu bayimbira nyimbo kuti basa muntu kajugoya kuba president bonse sobotoba kumusanza. All of us have a duty to make sure that Akainde Ichilema performs, because if his legacy after his presidency is 1, dividing this country, 2, abusing the law instead of promoting the rule of law, 3, abusing citizens and so on, and that is what is going to be the legacy of his presidency. Ndamwambira kuti bonse towamatonga nishitwa sampuga cheri kumbere jino jindi kukana nabuzuba twanda kuti gali jeba kuti wakamupa nchito ya president kuti atapehe bantu pe batarere jisi ejicha kwamba kuti ndiza oyimuhobo taurika poto oyimuhobo takaro aba is a creek of thieves aba mpaka bukarara guni mihobo yaba clean mihobo ibi, that should never be tolerated. And that's how come we continue kumujaira paga tovere boje de guba follow. So jinda Hot FM akasa kondamba kuti chimwa jita kuri Milingo chomwanda kujita kuri DPP chibyabi kamuzgoko tobera murawombo de kwenda. So amana jibo tunchakwamba kuti bonse baganana magana batongama aimbe mutongama Bradford Majira ku State House mutongama akakaroza kanga Christopher Mundia karozi kambuya gango kuninoko amana bonsa uri ku JCC chairman waro mutongama bajihaba Vincent Manambo. So basa ejijintu chotu jita trede utujite kabota, otherwise junza tuya kusampuka.
Can we pick up more calls? It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning, Pizzi. How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm fine. This is Lawrence on the line. Good morning, Raphael Nakacinda, the Binoculars man.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Sir, you're doing a great job. Don't listen to people that are saying you should stop it. You are pulling the roof. As Zambians, you are very happy that you are bringing out nothing but the truth. You're not behaving like UPN was the government. All they are doing was propaganda. But what you guys are doing is proper checks and balances based on the truth, okay? Based on justice, not based on malice and propaganda. So keep it up, sir. Now, my question is, how can the whole entire, Minister of Justice, go there to play a PR stand for the government, okay? And how come the people that are mentioned are not speaking for themselves? Okay, that does it clearly mention the names of individuals that were involved in meeting the former dictator of KCM. If they are there, what can they do themselves? Is that the government's job to defend the criminals, defend people that are suspects? No. Those who must come out on their own must tell us, or individuals that they never met in Ngolungu are going to have that was placed before court. Now, why is government defending suspects, criminals? Why is government doing that? What is the interest of government? Mundia is there, the Attorney General is there. How come State House is defending individuals?
Lawrence,
so that's my question.
Lawrence, thank you very much. Thank you. I've accorded you enough
you so
time.
much.
Thank you very much. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Those lines get you through. Or 0967-877-447. We'd like to hear from you. What do you have to say? Give us a call this morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning to you. What's your name?
This is Mole calling again, sir.
Sorry, your name again? You're not audible?
Mole.
Mule.
Yes.
Please go ahead with your question or contribution.
Yeah, morning, Honorable Nakacinda.
Morning, Mule Mulishan.
Bueno. Okay, next thing, so you are doing a wonderful job, Mr. Nakacinda, for zooming those who are trying to damage this country. My question to you, Mr. Nakacinda, is that why is that the presidential spokesperson was saying the president was not involved in that hello?
Yes, sir.
We can hear you. Continue. Oh, shame. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. You can also feel free to put your questions forward on all the social media platforms. In case you're just joining us, we're live on social media on Hot FM. We're live on Kwichu FM. We're live on Mwebantu. We're live on Kalemba. We're live on Smart Eagles as well. You can throw in your questions. We'll be able to read them and put them forward to Mr. Raphael Nakacinda. We're live on Diamond TV as well. You can follow the Hot Seat Radio program on Diamond TV. We're live on Beats FM in Northwestern Province, Radio Mano in Northern Province, Radio Yengeni in Luapula Province, Radio Liseli in Western Province, Breeze FM in Eastern Province, KNC Radio in Central Province, Hot FM and Kwichu FM, and Power FM in Lusaka Province. Give us a call. It's 0974-870-877. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? What's your name?
Mr. Chkwai. Good morning, Mr. Nakacinda.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Me, I'm okay.
Thank you, sir.
My question is, I'm sure in this country we have got security wing. Now, if you can look at the security which the president is using, that a civilian, is it allowed in this country to use a civilian in security wing? If not, where is he going the money? Because he's been paid. The second thing, Mr. Nakacinda should continue giving checks and balances. What you are doing a great job. And we as Zambians, we are behind you. We are supporting you, what you are doing. Can you continue doing that job? Let me go to Bomalo Rutamo. Is it allowed for the SEC to grab somebody's house before they go to court? I thank you.
All right, thank you very much. It's 0974-870-877, 0967-877-447. We'd like to hear from you. What's your take regarding what's being discussed on the show? Well, Mr. Raphael Nakacinda in studio. Give us a call and ask your question, and he'll be able to respond to it. Good morning.
Chari jijuka nataka jinsi ishi unaika kila kintu mumukoshi efo yeye muneka town please na papa taka kilineni kwa mapo ya muneka wino ni mumu cheleko fiba pie fo mapo shaka kwa yana mapo so aba in charge watu menyi mali wakambe kufufunya kwa kuna kela mkoa.
Shisma Machembe, I will allow you to respond to those, Mr. Nakacinda.
Well, I think I take note. I think we have a duty to country. Remember, Dr. Pride was already talking about the debt in town and so on.
Yeah.
So I think this concern will take seriously. We'll be able to transmit to Secretariat so that we go and look in the areas where that responsibility. Of course, we have to work together with the council, because when you are putting posters and banners and so on, there should be some procedures that we follow through the local government authority to deal with that. So we should be able to deal with that. About the gentleman, the civilian security, well, I can't speak to that. Of course, I raised the concern over the embarrassment we suffered during the inauguration, where the president opted to go with the one they are now calling bodyguard from Beijing for the ceremonial parade that he needed to inspect. You can imagine the Kenyattas and all these presidents that were here, the Mnangagwas and so on. They were squeaking, laughing, what is going on in Zambia? what has Zambia got themselves into. But as it were, we can only suspect that there could have been some arrangements made. Of course, people are asking themselves questions. He is overly around the president. I mean, the president, when the president is to jump out of the plane, the guy has to come out, jump on the ground, go in. And you know, Zambians are quite superstitious, so they're always examining what role is he playing. Is it security or there's another role that he's playing? So all those questions are troubling the minds of the Zambian people. But I think whatever arrangements, let it be properly put in place, maybe for the comfort of the president, and so on and so forth. I know that when it comes to security, sometimes there could have been one or two who were personal securities for you as a person when you're in opposition, and you'd want them to place them around an arrangement that they also input in making sure that your likes and dislikes as a person are taken care of as they undertake the assignment. So we hope that has been addressed adequately, and we hope there's no abuse. The real abuse when it comes to the presidency is basically the continued stay in Chalala. The government is spending a lot of money, and now we're hearing they want to put facilities around that house, which is an abuse of office in itself, and an abuse of funds, whatever facility they're putting there. But two, it's a continued abuse of the police that have to line up every day, in the morning, at noon, in the evening, without conveniences. I mean, treating our men and women in uniform in such a humane manner, I think is uncalled for, even if it's for their sake. The president needs, it's better that he himself tries to inconvenience himself for the sake of the majority. That's what leadership is all about. So I don't know what is so inimical about staying in State House briefly until you construct a new State House, because that's where Kaunda lived, that's where Chiluba lived, that's where Manawasa lived, that's where Rupia Banda lived, that's where Michael Sata lived, that's where President Edgar Chagwanungu lived. What is so special about President HS? He prides himself as somebody who came from the village and was only privileged when he came to town. So if he came from a ramshackle in the village, how come today the standards have skyrocketed that he can't stay in status? I mean, the humility presented to the Zambian people, I'm just a villager, you can't reconcile with now the sentiments, the State House and the House, the quasis of low standard. I mean, let's reconcile what we say and what we pronounce. I think that's where the abuse could be coming from. The other gentleman was asking about the Minister of Justice. I think April dealt with that issue. Why are the presidential spokesperson statement he's talking about, that's Mule, was trying to ask about the statement by the young man, Anton Walia. I cannot advise him. If he wants to last in that job, he must not just be emotional. I think he has to start, measuring his statements. There are people who have served in that office. We have people like George Chela, Dixon Jele, Sir Richard Sakara, and others. Don't shy away from going to them and asking, how did you undertake this assignment? And this is one of the things that Mr. Peter needs to be encouraged. You appointed the minister for the first time in a particular portfolio. It's not demeaning for you to go back to those that occupied that particular office, or indeed a similar office, and consult so that they can input in your already established ideas on how you're going to run the ministry. You will avoid many potholes, you avoid many things. That's how come even people like Honorable Bradford Machina, who at some point was Member of Parliament for Kefio, where most of my economic activities are, I find it difficult to comprehend that he would be in State House, having been minister and so on, and fail to provide guidance, even on simple and straightforward matters of this nature. I don't know, maybe he's being undermined. I don't know whether, or maybe for convenience purposes, he had decided to put away his, because he's a lawyer, to put away his ethics, to put away his principles, and be able just to advance a particular interest, or is it that is operating in an environment that is unconducive for sound advice? What is going on? Because this whole drama about Milingo was unnecessary. If people just were honest and owned up and proceeded to explain to the Zambian people the consideration for the actions they took. Now, you want to cover something with a lie, and now you're taking each other, you're going to court. I can just start sipping my coffee and some popcorns. I can tell you that there will be a lot of drama if this is not properly handled. And the president must take a hold of this process, deal with some of his little agents that have messed up this arrangement, and take a hold of this process, put it back on the rail, solve it in the interest of the nation. This drama is unnecessary. You can't be going to IMF to go and start trying to cut, a deal, an agreement there. Back home, you're insincere. Back home, you want to hound out the DPP. Your profile is getting messed up each and every day, because there's no justification, even for what the Minister of Justice was instructing the JCC to do. That is overlapping. Already, the separation of powers has been compromised. The silver line has been eroded by Mr. Aimbe. Why was he directing JCC? You understand what I'm saying? Soon they will start directing the minister, the Chief Justice. We already have evidence of the fact that Parliament is, in many ways, directed from the other side in terms of its functionality when it comes to presiding officers. Because when you look at the way presiding officers have been conducting themselves, some of us have even been summoned to go and culpate ourselves for criticizing the excuse of the fact that President Nakacinda and his colleagues have never been in government. The time is over. If you have a teachable spirit, 8 months is enough for you to get a hold of.
I'm looking at our time, Mr. Nakacinda. I'll ask you to end there because our time is up. We have to wrap up the show now. I'd like to thank you very much for coming through to the Hot Seat Radio program.
No, thank you very much. I hope what we've churned out is helpful, and I hope the colleagues in government will take a moment of introspection. Don't spring up, Anton. Don't spring up, Nokusan and Afema Rabish. The Minister of Justice, don't just spring up and just feed the Zambian people with emotions. Ikaren panshi, take an amateko panshi, reflect, so that when you are responding, you give a measured response. Thank you very much, and God bless.
That's our show for today. The Hot Seat Radio program will be back next week, Tuesday, with another exciting edition of the Hot Seat Radio program. Today, we were live on Hot FM, Kwitu FM, and Power FM in Lusaka, KNC Radio in Central Province, Breeze FM in Eastern Province, Radio Liseli in Western Province, Radio Yangeni in Wapula Province, Radio Mano in Northern Province, Beats FM in Northwestern Province, and live on Diamond TV as well. Also live on different social media platforms, including Hot FM Zambia, also Kwitu FM, Mwebantu, Kalemba, and Smart Eagles. That brings the end to Thursday's edition of the Hot Seat Radio program. Until next week, Tuesday, it's goodbye for now.
That was the Hot Seat. Don't forget to join next week at the same time. Exclusive.